Hello and welcome to the Love and Meaning Podcast. I am your host, Christelle Robinson-Tiedemann. What I'm about to talk about, I did not sit down with the intention of recording what I'm about to talk about, but as soon as I was about to press record, I had this very strong splenic hit, I will say, to record what it is that I'm about to talk about. And I am a splenic authority in my human design. Your authority in human design tells you how to make decisions. It is the aspect within yourself, inner authority it's referred to, that allows for you to have a reliable method of making decisions for yourself. And being a splenic authority, the spleen center in human design, in your human design chart, is an intuition center. So how it will show up for me is a very split, like in the moment, random nudge or knowing to do something. It has taken me time. This is not something that it's like, oh, I've just always listened to it. It's always been there. And when I learned that that was my authority, it made perfect sense to me. But did I always listen to it? No. Have I trained myself to listen to it? Yes. And I still at times do not. But we've got a pretty close-knit, tight relationship at this point. And so I had this hit to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. Now, and really what it is about authority. What I want to talk about is inner compass. And this is a theme that's been coming up with clients. People in general, for some reason over the past few weeks, this will often happen to me. Like what I'll be experiencing over the past little while is what I want to record about. But this theme is coming up over and over again, so it's worth talking about. And it's huge and important and global. I think that everybody can relate to this. And this is the theme of how do we know what is right for us and what isn't right for us? Like that is such a major theme that keeps coming up in a person who wants to live their life intentionally, a person who is really interested and committed to making the best of their life. These are the people that I interact with on a regular basis. Like such a desire and a drive to make their life amazing. These are the people I'm surrounded by. These are the people I work with. Like this is my ideal client, right? These are my friends. Like these are the people I am surrounded by. And when you have a strong desire like that, one of the big questions that comes up over and over and over again is, what am I supposed to do? What is the right thing to do in general and in specific situations? And what a tough freaking question. The most common way that we've been taught to address this question within ourselves is, what should I do? Or what is the right thing to do? Or what is the best thing to do? It doesn't sound like there's anything wrong with those questions in and of itself, right? But the thing is, the gauge that we're using to measure the correctness of the answer to those questions, what is the best thing to do? What is the right thing to do? Varies. Depending on who you ask, there's a different answer. What should I do is even messier. Should, my goodness, should. What does it really mean? Should. Based off of whose calculations? For what outcome? What's the ultimate measure? Like, how do I feel? or again, back to what's right or what is expected of me. These are all tangled into these questions. It's not a pure question. One of the reasons that I use human design in my coaching is because relying upon your strategy and your authority answers the question of what should I do? What is best for me? What is the right thing? Because the answer to that question is what is best or right for you. For you. Even if you come to me and you ask me, Chriselle, can you really help me through this? What should I do? What I'm going to work with you on is deciphering, extracting what is best for you to do, for you. It's not going to be the answer of what I would do. When I'm thinking about what I would do, I rely upon what is best for me. It could look like two very different things. Without a structure, this sounds crazy town to some people. Like, it just sounds like, that's not a straightforward answer. Like, what the heck does that mean? But the reason for that is because we have not been taught to go within ourselves to look for these answers. We have not been taught that it is safe or reliable for us to be the determining factors of what we should do, what is right for us, and what is best for us. We have been taught that that is a dangerous thing to do because you are at the core of it, evil or tainted or impure or just wrong or stupid, whatever it is, some sort of overarching governing factor, governing body needs to determine that for you because you are not capable. These are the subtle messages that we've been given by society, by school, by religion, and I am not anti-religion. I'm not anti-school. I'm not anti-parents. Okay. I went to school. I was raised religious. And I have parents that I absolutely adore. This is not what I mean. I'm just stating the facts of what we were raised in. With the most loving of intentions, those three governing areas of my childhood, of my life, sent me the same message. And the message wasn't to look within me. When I discovered human design, it wasn't the first time that I'd been introduced to, maybe it's time for you to be able to determine these answers for yourself. But it sure solidified, clarified, made it really easy for me to get it, and gave me actually the tool to rely upon, because it told me exactly what my authority is, which is your decision-making factor. So determining my clients' authorities and then working with them to learn to listen to it, to learn to communicate with it, to learn to understand what you yourself is telling you, the brilliant you, the wise you is telling you, is a lot of our work. We are not these deeply impaired, amoral, a mess kind of creatures, beings that we've often been taught that we are. We're not. We're human beings. And as human beings, we are directly connected to source energy. We are tethered to the greatest wisdom of the universe. We are part of this entire system of existence, creation. the energies of storms, the sky, gravity, frequency, all of this stuff we are a part of. Animals, trees, like we are all part of this entire network of energy. We're all tethered. We were born with a very deep inner wisdom. It's time to tap into it. It's time to learn to rely upon yourself to live the highest version of your life. There is no other greater authority in your life than you. And I know that that can be scary. If you're anything like me, who for many years, for the greatest portion of my life, was not necessarily a great example of that working out well. It can be very hard to all of a sudden just be like, okay, so you want me to make these kind of decisions? That's not safe. But as soon as I started to tap into the actual wisest part of myself, the outcomes of relying on me changed. They became brilliant, highly effective. I mean, just the most reliable thing in the world to me is me. This is the place I want you to be. This is what I want you to get to. I know that it's going to take time and it's going to take practice, but this is what I want you to get to, because every single one of us has it. We all have an inner aspect of ourselves that is communicating to us brilliance. Some people might refer to this as intuition, and I like that. I like that term. Even though there might be a very specific definition of intuition depending on who you talk to. The whole point is that you have an inner guidance, and it's really important that you're able to tap into it. So the second aspect of this that I want to discuss to kind of clarify this is that part of I was having a discussion with my husband this morning as we went for a walk. He's a generator. And so his strategy is to respond. And I was describing to him this most beautiful example of response a client was sharing with me. I mean, like, she called me and was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I just want to share with you. Like, I get it, you know? And so I was sharing with him the response story, like not like the personal details of the client, but just kind of like, I want to show you an example of how response works, you know? And he was like, oh, okay. And one of the things we sussed out in that conversation together was that sometimes the question that he's asking, that many people are asking, is so often more like, what's the right thing to do? I need to be in the right place to manifest this. There's like one way, or there's like an ultimate way. It's almost like we've been exposed so much to this fantastical story of life, or that we start to believe, we start to see, we tap into law of attraction, we tap into universal law, we tap into manifestation for the first time, and we immediately go into this fairy tale zone where we start to think of it as like bippity boppity boo kind of thing, where it's just like magic wand and that's the right thing, and like everything unfolds, rather than it's I followed the nudge and it got me here, and from here I followed the nudge that got me here, and then from here I followed the nudge that got me here, and from here I followed the nudge that got me here. It's not necessarily a neat looking process. I think that we think at times that if we're doing it right, we're moving in a straight line from A to B. Zoop. No. I think maybe that's a quantum leap, which is possible, which does happen. But in general, it looks like living life and listening to inner guidance, following it, and wherever it takes you is exactly where you need to be for the next step. Sometimes, often, we need to go like this. If you could see me visually, it's like I'm making a swiggly all around the place line. Like, we need to go from A to X to C to J to B to, like, you need to hit these places to interact with who you interact with there, to learn what you learned there, to be exposed to what you were exposed to there, to have the conversation with there that leads you to that next thing. If it's response, for example, if you're a generator type, a generator, a manifesting generator, and your strategy is to respond, this is a moment-to-moment experience. You don't need to know the exact final destination, because the thing is, the exact final destination that you might come up with is probably not half as fantastic as the one the universe has lined up for you if you simply follow your response. Let me give you an example of how this works out. A client of mine has an emotional authority, okay? And so we've been working on understanding that the best way for her to make decisions is not when she is on an emotional high or a low. She needs to be in an emotional neutral, okay? So being on an emotional neutral, at first, it took some time to even figure out what that was, because to her, when she's experiencing an emotion, especially if it's pretty obvious, or it's more obvious when it's negative emotion, but when it's positive emotion and not highly ecstatic, but something like just a little bit of excitement or contentment, that's not just like a neutral contentment, it's like a little bit of a buzz. It can be difficult. It was, I think she's nailed it now, but it was a little bit difficult for her to fully understand that, but it's something that I could really feel in her. So I helped her through my own reflection to be like, I know I can feel when your neutral is, when you're high, when you're low, and I feel we'll suss out with some questions like, there's a little bit of buzz there, you know? And so give it a little bit of time. And so she had indicated to me that she's really looking for a change. She wanted a change in her career. She didn't know exactly what that change would look like, but she knew she wanted something else, something different. And in this day and age, this virtual day and age, we know that we're all highly afraid of being scammed online and stuff. And one day she received a Instagram DM, and the Instagram DM was offering to train her in this very special technique in the work that she does. I'm being vague for confidentiality reasons. This special technique that not a lot of people do. And the area of which this technique in is actually something she's always kind of been interested in. She studied in school a little bit. And they were offering to train her in this thing. And they're opening a clinic. And they're going to be providing this service that almost nobody else is doing. And they're training these people so that they can be like the place to go to for this service. And she gets this message, right? She immediately felt a pull towards it, like a yes towards it. She also had her secondary authority is sacral. which is the authority that all generator types have, whether it's their primary authority or secondary authority. It depends. If you have your emotional center defined, then you would be an emotional authority. Your secondary would be a sacral authority. How a sacral authority works, and if you don't understand any of these words I'm saying, it doesn't matter. Listen to what I'm saying in terms of how it works. With a sacral authority, how it works is that when something is presented to you, you will feel a gut level response. It will feel like a leaning towards, a full body yes, or it will feel like an which is a repellent, a no, a kind of full body no, an actual gut level response of no. If you feel nothing at all, that means it's an I don't know. It's that simple. And people with a sacral authority can use it for anything. You could literally ask yourself, do I want to brush my teeth right now? And listen for the or And what I do with my clients is that we literally practice asking yourself questions where you know the answer. I could say something like, is my name Bethesda? I know that my name is Christelle. So I would learn what my feels like by asking myself a question that I know the answer isn't. This is how you would practice. I don't have a sacral authority. This is how you would practice with your sacral authority. Okay. So really getting this She had one heck of an response to this. Remember, this is an emotional authority person. So she has to be at an emotional high or low. She wasn't sure, was she at a high or low? So she went and asked a bunch of different people, including me. Like, what do you think of this? And most people's response to the DM was like, seems fishy. Like it seems too good to be true. Like, I don't know. Like, these kind of messages go out all the time. She repeatedly was like, something's pulling it to me. Something's pulling me towards it. So I said to her, listen, you are your authority. If this is what you feel, over multiple days, you have checked in with yourself over time, you've thought you were in a high, you've thought you were in a low, you keep getting the same response, this is what it is. It's up to you. I also don't feel sure. I don't know, but I'll back you up in whatever it is. No matter what, I'll back you up in whatever it is. So she's like, this feels like an She goes through with responding to these people. They respond back. A correspondence begins. They fly her from where she lives to New York City, put her up in a very fancy, luxurious, and fabulous hotel, set her up with this training. She does this training for 3 days. She meets another person who's also doing this training, is trained in this thing, flown back home, and they set up within however much time, and it was one fast turnover, that she would be starting working at this place. And I can tell you that within a month, her entire career was flipped upside down. Booked months in advance. No competitors, like trained in this amazing thing. No competitors, just like killing it. And her career blew up from this like, that seemed like a little bit mental. Like, that sounds a little wild. Making way more money than she was making. And the main thing that she discovered through it wasn't even what she thought it would be. And what she thought it would be is that this is just an exciting new thing to do. What she actually ended up getting from this new position, this new skill set, was realizing that the thing that she really, really loved was kind of becoming her own boss, like greater entrepreneurship. So the way that this company hired her was almost like as a contractor, like a private contractor, in terms of like, you are an expert in this thing. And we're making a sub business of our business around you and this special skill set. You pick your pricing, you set your timing, you set everything up. And all of these things sparked for her from this place. I can't tell you how much she's grown just from that. Like, she's added on to those skills. She's been to multiple different countries to learn different levels of training within that training, in this thing that she's doing, and thriving. And if we had tried to sit in coaching and come up with exactly what it is that she's going to be doing as her new job, I'm looking to change my career, I'm looking for a change, I don't know what it is. And if we spent our time together trying to figure out exactly what that thing is, there's no way that we could come up with what she's doing now. We didn't even know it existed. It didn't exist in either of our brains until that DM came in. So what a waste of time that would have been. What we actually spent time doing was working on becoming your own authority, having an inner compass that as life happens to you, as you encounter life, as you encounter experience, you make decisions in that space that are best for you based off of what your soul knows is what's best for you. This is what we worked on. My job was not to help her to come up with the answer of what her next career would be, or the twist in her career would be, the next avenue would be. It was to be able to recognize the signs around her that are pulling her in that direction. And she nailed it. Nailed it. That is such a huge success for me and for her. A sub benefit of that, which might even be the greatest benefit of all, was her undeniably realizing that she is the greatest authority in her life. She now knows without a doubt that no matter what people say, she can determine what she's supposed to do. Her should comes from her. That experience taught her that more than anything else, because here we are over a year later, and all the naysayers are just like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. Wow, look at what you're doing. Fab, like mind blown as to what this human being is now doing with their career. And they all said it was a scam. And this is not to knock them. They were giving their own heartfelt opinion to her because they cared. Who wants their friend or family member to be scammed? And it happens left, right, and center. My parents have been scammed on the internet. It's a real concern. I also don't want anybody to listen to this and take this as me saying that if anybody messages you some random stuff on the internet that you need to click on it and say yes. I mean, I really genuinely believe that nobody who's listening to this is going to do that. But let me just make it very, very clear that that's not what I'm saying. I hope that's not what you took away from this. But it's just a perfect example of how it was logical for people to say that's not safe. Don't do it. It was logical. I would agree with them. That is a logical response. I was skeptical myself. But what I trusted in was her ability to follow her strategy and follow her authority. Her response got her there as a generator, as a manifesting generator. Her authority, her listening to her sacral when she was at an emotional neutral over time is what got her there, and no one else. It is such a powerful skill set. Yesterday, I posted, when this episode comes out, it will not be yesterday, but I'm saying yesterday from the time that I'm recording this, I posted a story on my Instagram of me at work, just reflecting on my morning and how my splenic authority. So again, the way that the splenic authority works, so my decision maker works, is it's this random intuitive hit. It's just this inner knowing that comes out of nowhere. And it will just give me a random flash of knowledge, and I'm meant to listen to it in the moment. So the random flash of knowledge was, I'm walking towards my bus. I'm in the city. I'm walking towards my bus. I see my bus stop. I see the bus coming down the street, and I had been running late that morning. So I had already run for my first bus earlier in the day. And so I see the bus coming, and I have this instantaneous run for the bus. And instead of listening to the nudge, I have a conversation with myself that sounded like this: you have already run for the day. We are done with running. I'm not interested in that. We're not doing it. Literally 5 seconds later, I was like, Christelle, that was clearly a splenic hit. I don't know why, but you're supposed to run for the bus, run for the bus. So I run then. I run just in time to pull up right at the door to get on as the bus pulls off. I mean, literally, if I had arrived 5 seconds later, I'd be on that bus. That is how that worked. So adjustment, just missed it. Then I ended up having to wait 20 minutes for the next bus, for a 10-minute bus ride. The splenic hit was all about my intuition knowing that for some reason there's delays. It is in your best interest to get your butt on that bus. And I didn't listen. And so I ended up waiting 20 minutes. This is not a dire situation outcome, but it is a perfect example, minor example of how we have inner wisdom communicating with us at all times. At all times. And I've learned to listen, and I've learned to recognize every single time I don't listen what the outcome is, what the circumstances are as to why I was meant to listen. It is so fascinating to me how every single time I do not listen to one of my splenic hits, I'm told not to shortly after why I was supposed to do that. Fascinating. So, what is your authority? How do you make decisions for yourself? If you have figured this out for yourself in another way, fantastic. I don't care if it's through human design. I'm not saying it needs to be through human design. It works really beautifully for me to use human design for myself and with my clients. It is an amazing tool. And if you would like it to be a tool for you, you're more than welcome to go ahead and book a reading with me, and I will teach you what your authority is. Or go ahead and book a coaching session with me. I can teach you. We can definitely use coaching sessions for me to teach you aspects of your human design, or it can just simply be about intuition in general. It could be about anything. But if you would like one-on-one help with this, by all means, please go ahead and book a coaching session or book a reading, and we can cover it for you if you would like to use these type of tools in helping you. But if you have another way of relying on yourself to make decisions, fantastic. That is fantastic. This is what I want you to do. Brilliant. You're nailing it. Well done. The message that I'm sharing in this episode is about learning to be your own authority. Stop relying on everything outside of you to tell you what you're supposed to do. They are not reliable. This is not a simple, predictable right or wrong. There is not one single right or wrong. I had a client the other day who was making a deal with their own client. The deal started out at $17,000 and ended at $27,000 simply by them following their response. Someone objectively could look at that and say, actually, the way that this deal went down was a mess. There was so much back and forth. It was all over the place. But between them, her and her client, that's not what happened. It was a beautiful back and forth conversation. It was a negotiation of needs. Each person had their needs met, and my client ended up with $10,000 more in their pocket at the end of it, at knowing that that's what was going to happen to them. The client offered it. And it was from both of them simply responding to each other. She knew how to follow her strategy, and she didn't question whether she should or she shouldn't. Well, I started out and I said to them that the deal was $17,000. So I really shouldn't change my mind. That seems unreliable. She didn't do that. It wasn't oh no, don't pay me more because I said that. It was you know what? I really like that. This is something that you need. I'm more than welcome to offer that. And I agree that this amount of money is more appropriate for this deal. It was this beautiful dance between the two of them. And they're both so happy. She's fully compensated and the client is getting what she needs. Nobody could have predicted that outcome. She got there because she knew how to listen to herself. She knew how to listen to herself and what felt right for her. So this is what we all need to do. We all need to learn how to be able to rely upon ourselves to make decisions. There is no big fat prize coming to you from society that you did it objectively correct. Here's your prize. No. What we mostly end up getting is a whole crap load of resentment when we have been doing all the shoulds in the world and the outcomes that we get, the results that we get are shit. Trying to follow someone else's rules. Trying to be perfect. Trying to do it the right way. There are a whole lot of people, for example, in relationships right now that I'm seeing that they have no business being in. Not because they're terrible people, but because they're in it because they think they should be, not because they want to be. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be with someone who thinks that they should be with me. I want to be with someone who wants to be with me. Knowing how to listen to your own authority, listen to your own inner wisdom, your own inner guidance to be able to make decisions as to, for example, who you're supposed to be with is huge. That is going to indicate your happiness and this other person's happiness. And beyond all of that, my favorite part is the bringing of the two of you together, what that co-creation will create. What you're like a relationship. I know we're gone on a tangent here, but a relationship is like an amazing business partnership. There is a creation that's happening between the two of you. When that's the right joining, magic happens. But again, this has nothing to do with other people say. This has to do with you being able to decide what's right for you. And it might look different than you think, but you want to be the deciding factor of that. When we rely on shoulds, when we rely on some sort of outer something to tell us what we're supposed to do, we end up often resentful, miserable, confused, disheartened, disappointed. Why isn't this working? I did all the right things. There are endless examples of people living this way. No more. Let's learn to be fully personally responsible for ourselves. It's going to just take a switch. It's not even crazy hard. It's not super difficult, but it's different. It's different than I know that. It's different than what you've been exposed to. It's different than what you've heard, you've learned. But it's doable. If I can do it, you can do it. Trust me. So that's the message for today. I don't know why that was burning inside of me to share. But But that means that there's somebody out there who really, really needed to hear this. There's somebody out there that really needed to hear this. You are the greatest expert in you. I want you to be the greatest expert in you. And the thing is, until you actually learn to connect with your intuition, until you actually learn to connect with your authority, with your inner wisdom, you aren't the greatest decision maker for yourself. You're really not. You're not an expert in you. I want you to invest in becoming an expert in you. It takes time. If it's something that you need help with, it might take money. It might be investing in a coach. It might be investing in a course. It might be investing in a reading. But can you invest in yourself? Are you worth, is your entire life, and it being the life of your dreams, is that worth your investment? Is that worth your time? Is that worth your money? Is that worth your energy? I sure as heck hope so. So here is my permission slip, my encouragement, my wish, my hope, my blessing for you listening to this. I want you to invest in being your own greatest ally, your own authority, your own wisest guide. And you're going to do this in connection to source. So you're going to do this fully supported. But it's possible for you. Let's all become experts in ourselves. I genuinely believe that when we do this, we're going to see a more beautiful world. I don't like to, I'm not ever, talking politics and stuff on this podcast. That's not what I'm about. That's just not a conversation I'm ready to have. But I can say this. I think that the way that people would be choosing to have themselves governed, the way that would affect some people's votes, if we had an ability to look within ourselves and judge right or wrong, than just be told, we might see a really different way of operating in the world. I think as a collective, if we could learn to have a little more inner guidance and not simply rely on being told, we'd see a lot less sheep. We'd see a lot less people being able to be influenced in very disturbing and negative ways. In general, I trust in human beings' ability to govern themselves, but it doesn't just come automatically. We have been conditioned this way. We have been taught this way. We live in a society that has done this to us. You have to take the time to invest in yourself to be able to make these decisions for yourself, to have your own inner compass. And there are multiple ways to do that. Sending you so much love. I am excited for you to become your own greatest guide. I'm excited for you to become the authority in your life. I love you. I hope to see you here next week for another episode on the Love and Meaning podcast. If you want to dive deep into this topic, if you have questions about your authority, you want to ask me questions about it, you want to ask me about your strategy, you want to bring up a scenario and ask, how do I navigate this? Come and hang out with me on Friday Night Live Dive. Every Friday, 6 p.m. EST on my YouTube page. My YouTube page is at Coaching with Cree, or you can search it by my name, Crystal Robinson-Tiedemann. Every Friday, 6 p.m. EST, I go live and we talk about this stuff. We talk about the things I talk about in the Love and Meaning podcast. Come and bring your questions. Come and share your ideas. Come and share your opinions. I am so open to these kinds of conversations, and I would love to go deeper into it with you. So if you can't make it live, also feel free to write your questions right here underneath the podcast, whatever platform it is that you're listening on. If you are on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts, there is a comment section, a Q&A section. Write your question, voice note your question. If you are watching on YouTube, type in your question into the comments. and I will bring it up on Friday Night Live Dive. I'll answer your questions for you. It is my pleasure. It is my mission. It is my mission here to spread this knowing and this wisdom and these learnings that have expanded my life in the most amazing ways. This is my mission. And this is not a thing that's happening in a vacuum with me. My mission is realized with us interacting together. I can feel the pull for the knowing of this. I can feel the call, the asking of this knowledge that I'm sharing. And so you're answering the call, and I'm asking you to show up. Show up, do the work, put in the time, invest in yourself. This is a two-way street co-creation of brilliance. We are making a huge difference. We are making a ripple on the planet by doing this work with ourselves and with each other. So I hope to see you there. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next one.